Hello everyone, I'm Jeremy Yudkin. I am professor of music at Boston University, and you may have seen me before. I've done some videos before for the Berkshire Eagle, and in the summer times I give Tanglewood talks every weekend about the concerts at Tanglewood. I explain to people what's going on, talk about the composers, talk about the music, and I've been doing that for 43 years. I'm starting to get relatively good at it, at least that's what other people say. And now I like to do these talks for the Berkshire Eagle about what happens on what we have gotten used in the Berkshires to calling the off-season. Well, of course, nothing happens at Tanglewood after they close up. I mean, you're probably like me. I can't stand it when the Tanglewood season is over and everyone goes home and nothing happens. But I have news for you. There is Tanglewood in the summer times. And of course there's Tanglewood in the summer times. I mean, there's Tanglewood in the winter times. There's Tanglewood from September to May. And I'm here now at the Linde Center in mid-December, as you can see from the outside. This is the Tanglewood campus that most people don't know about. It's the new campus called the Linde Center off the side of Ozawa Hall on the back of the campus off Hawthorne Road. Now, in the last couple of years, the Boston Symphony Orchestra has made good on its promise that it made around the time of COVID, which of course put off whatever their plans were for a while, to have year-round programming at Tanglewood. And they built, with the help of an extremely generous benefactor, Mrs. Linde, this campus here, which has different studios, practice rooms, learning places, places to show films, and this gorgeous concert hall, which is a smallish place, just perfectly sized for chamber music, jazz, film shows, and lectures. As you can see, we're now in between shows, and there's all kinds of stuff going on here. There's Christmas decorations for holiday programs, and the stage is half taken up, half flattened out for chairs, and up there are the risers. And believe it or not, all those risers can be taken down, so the entire place can be flat all the way up to the back windows. And as I'll be telling you about some of these programs, that is what they're going to do for some of them. For the rest of them, they'll leave some of these risers, they'll have some chairs in the front. But let me get a little bit more specific about what the programs are going to be here at the Linde Center at Tanglewood during January to May. There are 15 concerts happening here, everything from chamber music to jazz to song and children's programming, films. There are things that you really should not miss. And I say that as a completely independent person. I am a proselytizer for music, not particularly for the Boston Symphony. I'm not in the employ of the Boston Symphony, but this is one of my favorite places in the world, and I just love sharing it with people. So here goes. These are the things that are going to happen here at the Linde Center in January, February, March, April, and May. Let's start with January. January the 30th, which is a Friday, we have a violinist who's a prize winner in Europe who is playing a violin recital with a piano accompanist. Now, let me just say a few words about fame and the music world, the classical music world. There are hundreds of extremely talented musicians all over the world, and only a tiny fraction of them get to be world famous. We only have one Yo-Yo Ma, one Yitzhak Perlman, and there are behind them, as it were, an array of incredibly talented, wonderful musicians who just don't happen to get that worldwide fame. Now, Joshua Brown is one of these. Most people have not heard of his name, but he's a highly gifted violinist with a great program and a beautiful, warm violin tone. Otherwise, he wouldn't be the recipient of a 2025 Avery Fisher Career Grant or a winner of the Queen Elizabeth Violin Competition, which is held every year in Belgium. Sunday, that's February the 1st, we have the first of a series of concerts that are put together by small groups of musicians from the Boston Symphony Orchestra. Now, people in the BSO have to play with vast numbers of other people. It's often 70 to 80 people on the stage. If you're a violinist, you're sitting in a group of 12 others, then there's another 12 violins, and there's 12 violas, and so on. But these are also extremely talented musicians, and they love the opportunity to play with a small group of colleagues in what is called chamber music. It's called chamber music because it was designed for small rooms in houses in the 17th and 18th century. But now we have the equivalent here with this lovely little concert hall, holds maybe 300 people or something, and it's beautifully built, teak like Ozawa Hall, wonderful acoustics, hello, beautiful acoustics, woohoo, gorgeous, you see what I mean? And they like to play in small groups. So this is the first of these. There'll be a few of these throughout the season. That's BSO musicians, get away from being in the orchestra and play wonderful chamber music together. Sunday, February 1st, 3 p.m. in the afternoon, a string quartet of string players from the BSO playing a fantastic program, an 18th century piece, Haydn's Lark Quartet, which is delicious, the Ravel String Quartet, which is late 19th century, a very, very beautiful piece, luminous and impressionistic, and finally a new modern piece by a living woman composer, American composer, called Jessie Montgomery. So don't miss that one. That's String Quartet, Sunday, February 1st, 3 p.m. Then, of course, mid-February, what happens? Well, it's Valentine's Day. So we get a program for Valentine's Day. And that is a jazz singer called Tammy McCann. She'll be doing a program both on Saturday, February the 14th, Valentine's Day itself, but also on Sunday afternoon the following day, in case you have missed the Saturday one. She's a jazz singer, and she is called Tammy McCann, and she will be channeling the four great jazz vocalists of the mid-century: Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Dinah Washington, and Billie Holiday. This should be a fabulous program. Saturday, February 14th at 7, Sunday, February 15th at 1 p.m. On Sunday, March 8th at 3 p.m., Sunday afternoon, there is a chamber music concert with performers from the BSO who, again, escape from the orchestra and come out here especially for us to play chamber music for us. And they'll be playing a Nielsen Serenade, and then one of the most famous pieces of chamber music for a group of strings and winds. It's a septet by Beethoven. Beethoven wrote this when he was young. It has clarinet, bassoon, horn, and strings. And it makes a delicious sound. It's when the winds are playing, it's kind of crunchy. When the strings are playing, it's smooth and silky. And then together they make a glorious noise unto the Lord. They'll be playing Beethoven's Septet in E flat, his Opus 20. This is a wonderful piece, and in the end it got so popular that Beethoven actually complained that people were playing this all the time and asking for that piece instead of listening to his new music. It is so attractive. You'll love that. Sunday, March 8th. Now, here's an example of how varied the programming here is at the Tanglewood Learning Institute at the Linde Center. Let me just explain. The Linde Center is the place. The Tanglewood Learning Institute is the organization that runs it and that puts on these concerts. We have an Irish group, and their name is spelled G-O-I-T-S-E, which looks like a throat gargle. But in fact, thank goodness, it's not pronounced the way it looks. It's actually pronounced Gowicha. I know, don't ask me, it's Irish. And the phrase Gowicha is an informal Gaelic Irish greeting, which means come along, come here, or come with me. It's a fun title. And this group is an Irish traditional band, comes from Limerick. They play traditional Irish music, but they also make their own compositions and mix them in with the traditional tunes. This is going to be a treat. Sunday, March 15th, 3 p.m., Sunday afternoon. The next Friday, the following Friday, March the 20th, is the first of Tanglewood Learning Institute's jazz programs. This is the Sullivan-Fortner Trio, who will be playing for us, and they have become very well known. They've won awards, including a Grammy Award. He's out of New Orleans, and he's brought together a trio. A jazz trio is always piano, bass, and drums. That's the traditional combo. And they'll be playing for us on Friday, March 20th, 7 p.m. Wonderful group. Saturday, March 21st is another one of these Bach tributes, Johann Sebastian Bach. Now, as it happens, March 21st is Bach's birthday. He's going to be 300 or so, but he was revered by all the composers who came after him, everybody, including even the Romantics, who didn't write that kind of music. And there's going to be a film called In the Key of Bach, and it'll be presented by the great violinist and former violinist of the Emerson String Quartet, which just finally finished their career after nearly 50 years, Eugene Drucker. He'll be introducing the film, and he'll have a conversation with the filmmaker on Bach's birthday, March 21st, Saturday, 3 p.m. here at the Linde Center. The following day, Sunday, March 22nd, is a group that I admire enormously. They've been here at TLI before. They're called the Arcis Saxophone Quartet. They play all different kinds of saxophones. They are 4 young performers from Germany, and they are absolutely brilliant. They do such interesting music, and they are, in a way, going to celebrate Bach's birthday too on the following day with a program called JSB 48. Now, 48 for Bach, JSB, of course, is Johann Sebastian Bach. 48 is the 48 preludes and fugues that Bach wrote to show off the new keyboard that was more in tune and could play in many different keys. So he wrote in all the different keys, both major and minor, 2 sets of 24, just to show that he could. And they'll be playing some of those pieces, the straight Bach pieces, but they'll also be doing modern music that fits in with the Bach pieces. Pieces by Shostakovich, by Bach himself, and of course by other composers, modern composers like even Brad Mehldau, the jazz pianist. Shostakovich also wrote preludes and fugues. And so it'll be a wonderful mixture, and they have a beautiful sound. Sometimes it's lovely and passionate. Sometimes it's very exciting. Let's not miss that one. That's Sunday, March 22nd at 3 p.m., the Arcis Saxophone Quartet. Then we get into April, and April begins with another jazz program. This is Friday, April 10th, 7 p.m. This is a group that plays jazz, and it's called A Night of Soul Jazz from New York City. And it's hosted by Nick Hempton, who plays both alto and tenor. But behind him is a trio, not the standard trio with piano, bass, and drums, but with organ, bass, and drums. Now, Hammond organ is an electric organ that is what we might call a chamber organ. It's small. It's not like a great big church organ, but it's a little organ. And it's in the tradition of those jazz organists that you've probably heard of, like Jimmy Smith and Medeski, Martin, and Wood, who were very popular 10 or 15 years or so ago. And the Hammond organ can make a great variety of sounds, and there'll be an organ player behind Chris Hempton, the saxophonist, organ, guitar, and drums instead of bass and drums, for a really rousing evening of straight-ahead jazz. Now, on Sunday, April 12th, there's a children's program. And what they're going to do is they're going to show a film, a children's film, a feature-length film that follows the 10-year-old Anna, who is Polish and misses her dad. She lives in Warsaw. Her father is away in London, and she misses her dad. Let me just read to you a little bit about the story here, which is perfect for children. She lives in Warsaw, and the film is made in Warsaw by a Polish filmmaker, because what they're celebrating is Chopin. Chopin, the great piano composer, who is actually Polish, although he made much of his career in Paris. So they're going to be showing this film, and she's in Poland, missing her father, and she's living with her cousin, Chip Chip. When Anna decides to run away, she discovers an old piano hidden in a pile of rubbish, which magically transformed into a flying machine. Naturally, Chip Chip and she go along on this flying machine. They soar over rooftops and seas, hoping to find Anna's dad and bring him home. They start arguing, the steering breaks, they go into a storm, and when everything looks lost, they find themselves back in Warsaw, where guess who is waiting for them? Yes, her dad. Then they'll be playing some music called the Chopin Shorts. Again, this is a celebration of Chopin and his music, and they'll be playing a selection of short animated films that are set to the music of Chopin. And this was heavily endorsed by the great pianist Lang Lang, and there'll be a pianist here, Derek Wang, who'll be playing along with the films. This is a great program for children, and it brings to them their music, it brings to them Chopin's music in a beautiful, accessible, and attractive way. On Friday, May 1st, there'll be a new music program with composer Daniel Wohl, who wrote a piece inspired by UFOs. You heard that correctly. UFOs. It's called Mirage. And he's a wonderful composer, very skillful, and he uses both electronic and acoustic sounds to create immersive experiences for listeners. In Mirage, the composer asks the question, are UFOs just something we imagine, or are they something truly alien? There'll be a group called Hub New Music on piano and electronics, and they'll play other music of Daniel Wohl. Friday, May 8th is Jumani Smith. He has performed on 5 Grammy Award-winning records, 2 Emmy Award TV performances, has performed with Stevie Wonder, has performed in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. He's spent the last 18 years touring with the vocalist and trumpeter Michael Bublé, and has toured around the world, Lincoln Center, Birdland, Rochester, Catalina Island, and other places in the US and abroad with his great New Orleans style street jazz music and his wild band. Friday, May 8th, 7 p.m. Now, Tanglewood is still here. Don't miss it. Enjoy yourselves. I'm Jeremy Yudkin, professor of music at Boston University, in the second most wonderful place in my life after my home and family.